Hi guys, it's Sam for Digital Meet again, and in this tutorial we're going to be looking at another Cinema 4D R18 feature, and it's the thin film shader. So let's just get straight into it. First of all, I'm going to need something to put my material on, so I'm just going to choose this sphere. I'm also going to need a material, and let's call this thin film matte. I'm also going to just set up my render settings quick. I'm going to choose the physical renderer, purely because I prefer it. Choose the physical, adaptive, automatic, 15%. Boom, there we go. I'm also going to need a sky object because we're going to need something to reflect. So I'm just going to create a sky in our scene. I'm going to go to Window, Content Browser, and if you search HDR in the presets, you'll find some of these. I'm going to choose this one, Promenade Under the Bridge, and I'm going to apply this to my sky. And just so it looks a little bit nicer in our viewport, I'm going to open up the material, go to Editor. I'm going to take off the reflectance as well, actually. Go to the Editor, texture preview size, and just set it to 2K. Okay, so now we've got something in our scene now. Okay, so onto the material. Let's apply this to our object and open it up. Right, so the color channel I'm not going to need for now. The reflectance channel I am going to need, but I do not need this default specular. I rarely use this, to be honest, because it's just fake reflection. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to add a GGX. Okay, so now we've got a completely mirrored material. I'm also going to go into my render settings and change my output to lock the ratio and change it to 800. Just so when I render the picture viewer, it'll fit on the screen for you guys. Okay, so at present, this is what we've got, just a mirrored ball. And we're going to give this a thin film coating. Now, what is a thin film coating? Let's have a look at some good examples here. This is a great example. This CD's got a thin film coating on it, so you can see that a thin film coating is quite hard to describe, really, because it's almost like something that's coating an object, but light can still pass through it and sort of react and bounce around. And that's why you still get this reflection with these colours, because it absorbs certain waves at lengths of light, depending on the thickness of the thin film coating, and then this is why you see these colours bounce back, because of the absorption rate of the material. So, okay, so a CD is a good one. Soap bubbles, perfect example of a thin film coating. We've got this oily film over the top there. And this is another good example with a anti-reflective coating. So you get, as you can see here, you get a lot of reflection here, whereas this absorbs most of it and just sends back green. So that's a good example. So let's come out of this then. And so we're going to try and sort of recreate some of these, and I'm just going to go through the thin film coating. Shader. So where do you put it? Well, you can put it anywhere. If I wanted to, I could put it in the color channel. Let's enable that and go down to effects and then thin film. And now this thin film shader is in our color channel. So let's just have a look at that. It doesn't appear to be doing anything, but yeah, this can go anywhere you like, really. But if you want it to be physically accurate, it needs to go in the reflection channel. So if we go to the reflectance channel and then we go down to layer color, this is where you want to put it, really. Most use cases anyway. So in the texture, we'll just go to effects, thin film, and then already you can see in the material editor's preview window that we're already getting a result there. So let's give that a render, see what we get. Already it's working great. Just going to change the view and see if we get a better representation. Yeah, okay, so there you go, easy as pie. But we can actually drill into the thin film shader and actually make changes. So let's have a look. Let's go through each one of these and we'll explain. So color. Now you notice the thin film's in the layer color property. So if we choose a colour here, that will actually be the reflectant colour, if you like. So if we make this fully red, you'll get an idea of what I mean. So it's red, but there's still variation here. So that's pretty much what that does. Again, it'd be good if for special cases, but for a physically accurate thin film, this would be normally white. Okay, so the texture slot. This actually determines whether the effect is being seen or not using grayscale. So if I go into the texture and add a noise and make it quite, well, you can see it already in here, and then mess with the clip so we've got some really dark spots and really white spots, and give that a render. You'll notice that there's areas where, let's zoom in a bit as well so we can take up most of our screen here. So you can see there's areas where the effect is being applied and areas where it's not. So that's pretty much what that field does. So I'm just going to clear that. Right, here we go. Here's the important stuff. The thickness, and it's in nanometers. So this is how thick the film is on the surface. So with low values like 100 nanometers, we'll be getting a result like this, which is very subtle. It's minimal. And then at the other end of the scale, 1000, which is a ridiculous value, probably not accurate in any way, you'll be getting something like that. Let's try 800. Okay, yeah. So obviously a stronger effect there. The default is about 500. So I'm just going to ramp it up a little bit just so it's easier for you guys to see. Let's go 600. Okay, so that's what the thickness does. Now, underneath you'll see that we've got a variation in nanometers, and we've also got a texture slot. Now, this variation will be grayed out until we enter a texture. So I'm going to, again, add a noise. It'll be a grayscale value that it's looking for. And we'll go in here and we'll choose something a bit more sort of swirly and gaseous, I suppose. Let's just go with that. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, so I've got a texture in there now. Sorry, just go back into my thin film. So we've got texture in here now, and if I render, nothing's happened whatsoever, and that's because we've got no variation. So what this value does is, if I put a value in of 100, what will be happening is the variation will, these two numbers are closely related, so the variation is 100 nanometers. So what it means is the variation, it will vary either side of this value, so 100 either side of 600. So the variation will be from 500 to 700. And what sort of determines what the values of this variation is this texture. So white being more and black being less. 100 either side of this value. So let's just give that a little render, and already that looks a lot more sort of bubble like, really, the type of thing you'd see on the bubble surface. I think that the actual noise is a little bit too small, so maybe we could actually turn up the global scale, maybe times it by 2 to start off with, and see what kind of result we get from that. Yeah, a little bit more swirly. We could even go a little bit more, maybe 300. See if that... Okay, yeah, I mean, that's a little bit extreme, I think. Let's go 250, middle ground. Okay, yeah, something like that, that'll do. So you can see how that changes the variation and therefore the return colour that we're seeing. The index of refraction preset, this just affects the film. It doesn't affect the material underneath, if you like. So if I put colour in here, it wouldn't. Well, really, the reflection, that would be to do with this Fresnel index of refraction value. So this is purely just for the thin film. So we could set this to something like oil and give that a render. Okay, I don't think there's too much different. Oh, no, there is. So yeah, the index refraction matters there. Okay, and the spectral samples. Now this is basically a quality setting. If I turn this down, I mean its default is 10. If I turn this to 1, you can see that that's shit. And if I put it to maybe 3, you can see a little bit more colours creeping in now. And if I take it back to its 10, we can have a look at the difference between 10 and 3. So we can see the quality's got a lot better. It's almost like the cell shader when you're choosing how many colours are going to be represented in there. Kind of like that. But render times will go up the more samples you give it. So the difference between 10 and 20 might be noticeable. Yeah, it is. Not by much though. And if I whack this up to say 50, yeah, I mean the difference between them is almost yeah, you can't really tell. So I think between 10 and 20 is a good value. That's fine. So yeah, that'll do. And that's pretty much it. For the thin film shader. There's one thing that you should note though. If I go to my transparency channel, say I did want to make a bubble, and turned on my transparency and then give it a render. Ooh, I've got nothing there. And so you might be thinking, okay, well maybe it's because there's no refraction in my transparency. So let's just bump this up to 1.2. Okay, we can see the transparency now. Let's render. Yeah, we can, but the problem we've got now is there's no thin film. And there's a reason for this. It's because in the transparency channel, in order to make the thin film work, we've got to check this additive button here. So if we check that and then render, we should get there we go, we've got a result now. You can see that colours come back, and in fact, I'm just going to knock the refraction back down to 1. Because with this additive now, we're actually taking the index of refraction from because it's working now, we're getting the IOR from the thin film. So that should work now. Beautiful. Okay, so we're getting that. So that's just something to note. So like I said, you can create anything that has thin films. I mean, you get this kind of thing on oily surfaces. You probably get it on lenses for cameras. They usually have thin film on them. But things like leather as well, that has a thin film, so you can actually simulate that as well. I'm just going to take transparency off for a moment and enable my colour. I'm going to make it dark. Maybe put a little bit of blue in there, maybe. And just sort of make this value a bit darker. And let's just whack it in a meta ball or something like that to create some kind of oily like substance. So let's get the material on the meta ball. Let's also bring down the whole, not the whole value, the editor subdivision in the meta ball, so it's closer to our render subdivision. Let's give it 10. Okay, so we've got our circle back. Let's copy this sphere. Okay, you can see that got bigger. Let's pull this one out. There we go. So it's like an oily drop or something like that. In fact, we could scale this one just so it's a little bit of variation. Let's copy this one again, and we'll drag that one down here. Okay, so we've got some kind of weird glob. Could even have another one. Okay, right, I'll calm down now. And let's give that a little look. So now we've got this sort of weird oily glob. I think the effect is probably a little bit too strong on that, to be honest, but you know, it does the job. Let's see if we can tweak it quick. Let's go to the thin film shader. Maybe we can bring its thickness down a little bit so it's not such a strong, say 400. Actually, that's that's stronger in a different way. That is. Maybe lower then. Maybe not. Maybe this is the way to go. Maybe higher. But yeah, you can create all kinds of effects with a thin film shader. So I think I'll leave that there, guys. As always, don't forget to visit the website, digitalmeat.uk. And also I'll put links to the Facebook page, merch store, Twitter, all of that stuff in the description. Don't forget to donate. That would be really helpful. Cheers, guys. See you later. Bye.